Thank you for joining us. National Board Certification is one of the most prestigious credential a teacher can earn. Like board-certified doctors and accountants, teachers who achieve National Board Certification have met rigorous standards through intensive study, expert evaluation, self-assessment, and peer review. The process can take up to 3 years to complete. We commend the teachers we're here to honor tonight on their hard work and perseverance in achieving National Board Certification. Their ability to meet stringent teaching standards is truly an impressive accomplishment. The rigor that is part of this national movement towards quality educational reform ensures that earning National Board Certification is a mark of distinction. These educators have grown in their profession and their ability to meet the increasing demands of educating our youth. Their ability to demonstrate the nation's highest teaching standards is of great value to the students they serve, as well as a beneficial resource to their fellow faculty members. Before we get started, I'd like to just take a moment. We have some of our current candidates in the room. If you're a current candidate, would you please stand up? Thank you. And throughout this journey, we have had a cohort of candidate support providers who have worked with each and every one of you throughout your journey. And I'd like you to just take a moment so that way everybody's aware of our candidate support providers. If you could just give a wave. We have a few speakers that are going to be speaking to us about what it meant to be a candidate, what it meant to achieve National Board Certification, those next steps, and then Dr. Petticone is going to share some words of wisdom with us as well. To get us started, we have Sandy Mertz, who is a National Board Certified Teacher in Early Adolescence and Young Adult Career and Technical Education.
Thank you, and congratulations to all of the new NBCTs and the renewed NBCTs. Footfalls echo in the memory, down the path I did not take, toward the door I never opened, into the rose garden. Those words by the poet T.S. Eliot did not apply to the people in this room tonight. You guys walked down the path, you opened the door, and now you're in the garden of national boards. And you might be asking yourselves, what next? Where do I go from here? And so I'd like to tell you 3 stories that represent what some national board teachers, including myself, have done with their certificate. The first is Kate Gilbert. She teaches with me over at Safford. We've been together about 19 years there. She was the 2009 State Arizona History Teacher of the Year, and she achieved her certificate in 2010. And Kate is that teacher that every parent wants their child to have. And she's that teacher that every child remembers their whole life. And yet last year, at the end of school, she and I were hanging out and talking, and she goes, you know, Sandy, I get so tired of people telling me how great I am, because I don't know that anything I do makes a difference. I look at the work that the students do, I look at the stuff on my wall, and I say, am I doing it right? What I want to do is next year with you and Brian and the other members of the 8th grade team is to get together like we've never done before, analyze student work, think of our lesson delivery and our units and our methodology, and try to make a connection and make it stronger than ever. And so when I knew I was going to make this talk, I was going to talk about her. And so yesterday I tracked her down and I said, do you remember that conversation we had? And she goes, oh yeah, I have that conversation with myself every day. And I said, do you think you could have had the conversation if you hadn't gone through the national board process? And she goes, well, yeah, truth be told, I've always asked myself those questions. But the national board process has empowered me with tools of thinking and analysis that I never had before. So now I can go deeper into the questions, looking for more efficacious solutions. So Kate Gilbert has stayed in the classroom, doing everything she can to perfect her practice and be a role model to all of us. I've stayed in the classroom and hope to be perfecting my practice, but I've also gotten involved in the teacher leadership movement, which I had never heard of before I certified, and then started getting recruited into activities both at the state level and the national level. And in case you're not sure, the teacher leadership movement is the grassroots movement of teachers whose mission is to get the teacher's voice into policymakers' ears, both at the district level, the state level, and the national level. and we're becoming connected. There's a few hundred of us, maybe a couple thousand of us. We're writing, we're getting published, we're making presentations, and our goal is to always have one foot in the classroom, but to let the policymakers of the country know the impact that the policies that they thrust upon us have in our classroom practice. And they're beginning to listen. We've got a long way to go. But teachers, accomplished teachers like you and me, are finally being heard at the highest levels. So I've stayed in the classroom, but have expanded my reach and influence. A couple years ago, some of us were at a roundtable up in Phoenix that was conducted by Ron Thorpe, who's the director or the CEO of the national boards. And his message was, teaching is not a profession. And we all said, huh? And he said, it's not a profession of the status of engineers, lawyers, and doctors. And it won't be until the practitioners themselves demand of all teachers the highest standards of professionalism. Just as if you wouldn't go to a surgeon who wasn't board certified, or drive across a bridge that hadn't been built by a licensed professional engineer, or be represented in a court case by a lawyer who hadn't passed the bar. We hope that the day comes when no parent will want their child in a classroom of a teacher who's not board certified. But for that to happen, according to Ron Thorpe, some teachers need to leave the classroom and go into positions of power, and maybe elected positions, maybe district or site administration positions. And we have a colleague named Jen Robinson who's done that. She started as a kindergarten teacher, moved into teacher mentoring, maybe held some other positions, I don't know her biography perfectly, took her PhD, and then has since become a principal of an elementary school in Phoenix. And she's leading the way as a national board teacher who's become a principal and getting that message out. So those are 3 examples of what you might do now that you're a national board certified teacher. I opened with T.S. Eliot, and I'm going to close with another poem. Some of us know it well. It wasn't written by an author of the caliber of T.S. Eliot, but where will I go, and how will I know? How will I flow, and how will I grow? How will it show, and how does dreaming help me to know? Congratulations, and thank you for the time.
Your continued support of the national board process. He also is one of our candidate support providers who's supporting candidates throughout the process with us. Our next guest speaker is one of our newly certified national board certified teachers. She is a NBCT in adolescent and young adult English language arts here at Tucson High. Please welcome Amethyst Hitten Saints.
Okay, I'm really embarrassed because the CTE teacher used a T.S. Eliot quote and I didn't bring any quotes, so I'm sorry. So I want to thank everybody for being here, and I feel really, I feel very congratulated, and so thank you, Julie, for inviting me to speak. I'm a little bit of a novice public speaker, but I guess I wanted to talk just a little bit about why I chose to do NBCT. And actually, a student came to interview me from the paper today, and I had a hard time explaining it, but I think part of it was this sort of, the caliber of the teachers that I saw that had gone through the process was really amazing and inspiring. The people that it was the people. You know, I didn't know that much about the process, but I knew the people that were colleagues of mine that had done it, and they were so impressive, they were so strong. They had such clarity in their voices about what really matters in schools. They seemed to know who they were as teachers. They were a little bit intimidating and a little bit radical, and so I guess I wanted to sort of hold myself up to that standard and see if I could do it and see if that's what I was too, or if I could be that way. I knew it would be an intense process, and it was, and today I know that most of you already know this information, but I really want to acknowledge the support the district gave us, because at TUSD, you know, we've been through a lot of rough times, and I think that in this case, the district has done well by us, and as far as I saw, all the candidates that went, how many of us were there, 39 or something? like a ridiculous number of us who went through this process. We received more support than I ever really anticipated, and support that I ended up needing and I didn't know that I would need. We first of all had Julie, our unfailing advocate at the district level, Julie Torres, our national board mentor, working for us all the time in the background. I mean, she was always in touch, emailing, texting. The evening meetings we had with our CSPs, our coaches, were invaluable, absolutely necessary. We had release time at the work days. Those were well used. I can't explain to you how, for me, it takes a really long time. This type of work we did was deep and intense, and you can't sit down in a 45-minute chunk of time and accomplish anything. You have to sit down, get focused, and then have hours ahead of you. Or at least that's how I was. I don't know. I can't speak for other people, but having those full days where we could just sit and work. The stipend that we got that covered some technology, the flip cameras, which we used to film ourselves, and then covered the Arizona K-12 Center support events, the workshops, or the Saturday coaching, the coaching Saturdays, the weekend retreats. All of that was uninterrupted time away from our daily schedules. And Crystal Foster just asked me, so was it as intense as it's supposed to be? I'm like, yeah, it really was. I honestly, with children, I don't know how I could have done it without that time away from my daily obligations. And I thank the district so much for that support. I probably would have finished the portfolio, but I don't think it would have so much reflected who I was as a teacher. And I guess the student today from the paper asked me if I saw growth in my students and in their learning and achievement, and I told her it would definitely last year because I was so focused on that. You know, I saw a lot of growth in my students. I think there's growth in my students every year, and I think it's made me a better teacher, but I don't have data yet to show whether it's improved my students. But I know it's changed my view of myself as a teacher, my identity, my self-identity as a teacher. I feel much more clear about what I stand for and what matters, and the way I see my students. I think it's really improved my relationships with my students and allowed me to focus on them again as individuals. Sometimes we get so caught up in, where's my projector, and I don't know, like all the issues every day at school. And, you know, I always just look back to my students, and I feel like it's really improved my focus on them. And so I just want to thank the AZ K-12 Center and our district for the support. And I guess the closing question I have for the district is, so now how are you going to use us? You know, where's the harvest? Like, what are we going to get tapped for? We're here, we're eager to contribute, we have a lot to give, and we're very powerful people. And so please use us to change education.
Now we have Dr. John Pettico, our superintendent.
Thank you. Well, you know, I've got to begin by first saying congratulations to all of you. I hope you know how proud we are of you, and I know that you feel proud of yourselves. Before I go any further, let me also recognize Julie and the team. And they're recognized once already, but I don't think you can do that enough when you look at the work that they've done, as somebody said, behind the scenes in support of all of you. So I'd like to have a little recognition. And I promise you, as you know, she's tough. Isn't she tough? I mean, she doesn't let you get away with anything, and that's a good thing. And I promise you with this, we will exploit you. We are so good at exploiting people that have talent, and I promise you that'll happen. You know, this morning I started the day off, I had to go to a little breakfast meeting. Then I like to get over to the in-service that we were doing. You've all been a part of that, I think probably early on, when you began to get trained in that common instructional model we believe is so important. The reason we believe that is so important, I think you know, is because the more that we can engage in things that will help teachers become stronger and help you, even as a veteran teacher, to understand why what you do is so effective, and when you have some trouble, how to work through that, is the gift we give to each other. It certainly is something that we should be doing with each other. And that's how I first met Sandy. You all know Sandy, how Sandy got his name? Okay. I do. Anyway, no, I can't tell you because he hasn't given me permission, but I do. I actually know how Sandy got his name. But he was there this morning at that in-service. And I said to them the same thing that I say when I got back, and every Thursday, there's an orientation for new employees in the district. And I like to stop there just to let them know who I am, and also make sure that they know that they're cared about and we appreciate their being a part of us. And I always talk a little bit about how, the goal of a large district is to try to make big small. It's so that people can feel as though they're valued and that you have voice in the things that you need to have a voice in. That when we make decisions, when we can't include you, that you understand that we're making them with you in mind and so forth. And then I also ask, how many of you in here are teachers? And there's always a few. Today there were 2 or 3 that raised their hands. And I will say, well, just so that you know that the rest of us are support staff. Each of us has a single job, and that is to make sure that we help what goes on in the classroom get better, and that we do that by supporting the teachers that are in this room. And we've got to remember that, regardless of whether you're going to be a maintenance worker, custodian, a secretary, or whatever. That's really what we're about. So I would say to you that, as I said to them this morning during that in-service, that when we screw up, and I hear a little bit of that when people make comments, that like even analysis comments. You say, well, there's a lot of things that the district maybe has been criticized for, but this is something the district did very well. That makes me feel good, as it should make you feel good. Because we feel like when things don't go well, we share in that, don't we? And every time you see something or you hear something that in some way comes across, whether true or perceived, about how we didn't do something well, I feel that, and I feel the burden of that, as I think you do. When things go well, I'm like you. I want to wear the jersey, and say I feel good because that happened. Well, that's exactly what this is about. You through the work that you did, and I know a little bit about how difficult the journey is that you've been through. All of you got here in a different way, and all of you had to go through sacrifice to get here. There's no question about it. You had to work hard to be able to achieve this goal that you had, and you did. And now it's special. You're somebody who was always special, and now can find out that you can do, as you heard before, the power of having this expertise makes you even more powerful. And it enriches all the rest of us as well. So I appreciate that, and I know how difficult and how important that is. So I thank you for the hard work that you engaged in, and I appreciate what you went through to get here. You make us all stronger as a result of the work that you did. All right, so I think now there are 17 people. By the way, do you know this? Let me mention a couple other things I learned. That we are second in the state of Arizona in terms of the number of nationally board certified teachers, all right? Which is pretty impressive. And I know Julie will correct me if I make a mistake, because she always does, and I appreciate that. But there are 55 currently in the district. 2 of them, I think, have left us, or there are 55 in place right now. And of the candidate group, there are 55 going through the process as well, and that's pretty special. So if everybody that's going through the process makes it, we will beat Gilbert. Right? We will be number 1, which I look forward to. I'm sure it's possible, and it would be a wonderful thing. Okay, and the only other thing I would mention is that as I learned about our program in Tucson Unified, we've connected as you all know, the nationally board certified teacher program with mentorship, and many of you are a part of that as well. And there's no better thing that I can think of than to be able to show in a systems way how these things connect, and be able to use those things that you mentioned, to the benefit of others. So I think that's pretty special. Last year at the prom, what'd you call it? The teacher prom last year. I was there in support of the group that went through last year. They talked about that this was, the K-12 Center recognized us for that connection, and for I think the remarkable thing that we've done over time to connect the programs together, and that's pretty special as well. All right, so now I think we're going to do something that I haven't done since I was in high school, and that's the pinning ceremony. And so, is that right? All right, so I will wait, and I'm your servant. Let me know what I need to do. Thank you all very much, and congratulations.
I'd like to invite all of our newly certified teachers and our certification teachers to please go ahead and line up right over here.
Okay, I have to go.
By the way, can I say one more thing? Just one more thing. You all know that in the room with us is one of our board members, that's Crystal Foster. I want to thank Crystal for that. And Crystal and I talked this morning, and we said, what color should we wear?
is an adolescent and young adult English language arts. She is employed at Tucson High, and she has been with the district for 18 years. Our next NBCT is Kathleen DeVerna. She is an early childhood through young adult exceptional education, and she is working at Hudlow Elementary School, and she has been with our district for 23 years. Mary Hartman, who is certified as an early childhood generalist, is employed at John B. Wright and has been with our district for 9 years. We have Erin Duncan, who is an early childhood generalist at Miles, and she has been with our district for 19 years. We have Jennifer Wynn, an early childhood generalist at Gale Elementary School, and Jennifer has been with us for 16 years. Next, we have Beth Slane, an adolescent and young adult English language arts teacher at Tucson High School, and she has been in TUSD for 6 years. Before we continue, I'd also like to acknowledge that Nanette not only went through this process once, but she decided to change her certificate, and this is a new certificate for her, but it will be her second time achieving National Board Certification. Nanette Murray is in English as a new language in early and middle childhood at Whitmore, and she's been with us in TUSD for 7 years. Next, we have Cameron Becker. She is an exceptional needs specialist with visual impairments. She's an itinerant teacher and has been with our district for 8 years. Next, we have Lourdes Cerna. She is an early childhood generalist at Hollinger, and she has been with us for 6 years. Greer Parrish. She is an exceptional needs specialist with visual impairment. She works at Foreman, Dodge, Mission View, and Saguaro, and she has been with TUSD for 11 years. Once again, we have Amethyst Hinton Saints. She is an English language arts and adolescent young adults with Tucson High, and she has been with us for 5 years. Brenda McGannigan. She is an early adolescence mathematics. She is also with part of our new teacher mentor program, and she has been with our district for 13 years. We have Cassandra Michelle Martinez. She is an early childhood generalist at Rossbridge, and she has been with TUSD for 13 years. We have Devon May. She is a middle childhood generalist at Wright Elementary School, and she's been with the district for 5 years. Our remaining 2 individuals have both recertified, and I would also like to take a moment to also notice that Dana, she was one of our first NBCTs into USD. She was one of 2, correct? Oh! I got part of it together.
We did it together, Dana and I.
So let's give them a round of applause. So we have Stacy Devaney. She is an early middle childhood music NBCT. She is currently working at BC Elementary, and this is her first year with us. First time. And we have Dana Islas. She is an early childhood generalist at Linear Keaties, and she has been in TUSD for 17 years. As I read through those cards, one thing that amazed me is the amount of experience that we have in this room, and that we've got teachers that have been here for, some of them that are new to TUSD but have been teaching for quite some time to, there's quite a few right at 9, 10 years, but we have 18, we had 23 years, and that is just really speaks to your dedication to students, that after all of that time, you're still pushing yourself to to move to that next horizon. Thank you for joining us tonight to recognize our newest NBCTs. I would also like to take a moment to thank our district leadership team. This could have not happened without support from the superintendent's office. We have Dr. John Petticone here. We have Dr. Menicotti. We have Richard Foster from Professional Development. We have our board member that is present. We really appreciate that support, and we wouldn't be able to offer this as an option for our teachers if we didn't have that support behind us. So thank you very much.